Now we move on to 2009's Mother, a particularly confronting film from Bong Joon-ho, which he wrote with Park Yoon-kyo and which was shot by Hong Kyung-pyo. This is a film which could be mainly assessed via a judgment of the screenplay with performances, although no need to make mention or feel too surprised, for the picture is strongly directed and photographed. Consideration of the technical merits aside, Mother's script is cultivating much potentiality which fractionally withers right at second to final act. Initiating as a confronting DIY murder investigation from the titular figure, the work is impressively well plotted and commendably engaging, then a vague dismay emerges when the narrative concludes in quasi-hostile nihilist realism, or so it aspires, revealing a parent's devotion as a blindfold to a psychologically distressing revelation. Going further, the suggestion of a moral relativist, perhaps ignorance is legitimate bliss, mild cowardice, is less an ethical failing and more of an aesthetically underwhelming artistic disposition. Is this all such an evocative auteur has to say? Remember, this was the end of history take two, 2000s. There were touches of safe society, leisurely nihilistic bouts to quell the boredom of a perceived societal stability. Marvel was not responding to endemic social sufferings. Like Mike Lee's Naked, Lee Chang-dong's Oasis, or maybe Kid Kim's Bad Guy, it was splashing around with a narrative misanthropic nihilism to counteract the domineering beige sentimentality which condescended mainstream audiences during the 90s and 2000s. And in all fairness, Mother is probably the inarguable superior of the films mentioned, though naked cinematography from the sadly recently passed Dick Pope remains awe-inspiring and totally engrossing. Mother is hinting at a more nuanced, wizened world cinema pathological sensibility developing during the 2010s, a disposition which Joon-ho himself composed potentially the major apotheosis of, via Parasite in 2019, a picture which was appealing to the timeline-conscious medium enthusiasts, it also to the submerged, well-articulate, unpretentious cinephile inevitably latent in anyone who makes the choice to sit down with a feature when they have the time. The medium can be both leisurely escapist, and in that it can also induce preferences as to what the exteriority of one's screen might learn from what occurred within those corners. In assessing the history of the film medium thus far, Juno, instead of solely catering to the introverted hobbyist scaffolders, employed the more critically considered aesthetic narrative of the form and evolved it into a piece more all-encompassing and demonstrative of that form's persistent relevance. In Parasite, we witnessed a feature which mined the history of this medium and also embarked on the ensuing step toward art house cinema universalism, and no more can these film festival oriented titles feel content to simply appease an insular, boredom inducing, irrelevant audience of an outdated niche, like recording jazz compositions for a completely dulled traditionalist wank bubble. They are duly compelled to attempt to change the world beyond their screens, even if the results will be of mixed quality, inescapable hypocrisy, the existence and reception of Ostland's Triangle of Sadness, or eagerly incorporated and celebrated by that unimaginative checklist-following conglomerate. Wender's Perfect Days, Glazer's Zone of Interest, Triet's Anatomy of a Fall, or even Field's Tar, plausibly. Still, it is to be undeniably acknowledged as a distinct improvement on the techno-aesthetically regressive world/art house/film festival oriented cinema of the living room home entertainment distracting you as you sit there on your stained couch at the end of time 2000s. Fortunately, some wanted to elevate the situation around them, and their art inspired us to think with more blanket positivity how could our surroundings be if we had the choice of reshaping them. The bafflingly lowered standards of world cinema auteurs from the mid-late 2000s up until the mid or later 2010s must be recognised, consensually assessed, condemned, and more than thoroughly moved on from. Martha is an artifact of those times, but one which was positively indicating, at least looking at it with Junho's subsequent work as a window for retrospection, a more exciting, relevant, enriching future for the medium over the next 15 years or so. So, let's hope it shall continue from here perpetually.